Alright guys, I'm back doing another little video. It's an update basically on these Dorman solid striker pins for my 72 Nova, and the part number is, hey, obviously you see it, hold on, 38428, and it says right there, now my camera's going in and out. Anyway, it's for GM. I checked the year. Here's the pin that I have. And here's the thing, when you look at the advertisement on the picture, this one I can show you because I don't have three hands. If you look right there on the shank, you see the threads run all the way up to it. But when you look at the advertisement, you know, when you go to try to purchase it, right before the shank is a blank spot for the washer to turn freely. Well, these are threaded all the way up, and the washer doesn't spin freely. It bites down on the thread, acts kind of like a nut. But here's the thing. The washer right here, if you can see there, you can see a thread still. That's as far as it'll go without me really trying to crank down on this washer and get it to go all the way against the shank. But they're supposed to have a blank spot there, kind of like the original one, minus the loose collar. So here's the deal. I'm basically making this video for Shop 209. It's for John. You know, he does all the Nova stuff. Anyway, I had asked him a couple times, where's my keys, which brand he got and what was the part number. So anyway, he never got back to me on that, which is okay because I went back and looked at his video a little closer on the blue Nova that he actually installed these pins on, and I got to be able to see, I didn't see the part number, but I got to see the pin, and it's the same one I got. So, excuse me. Anyway, John, here's the deal. Right here, if you look closely, right here are obviously this is the stock pin. The collar's loose, that's why I wanted to replace it, because the hinge pins in my door I've replaced a while back, but since this collar is loose, I know that by this pin having this slop, it's not supporting the door, and the door is going to start, you know, moving around, and those pins that I replaced are going to start prematurely wearing. So that's why I got those, you know, solid pins. I was like, yeah, it's going to work out great. Anyway, I stuffed it, put it on, and this is the original washer, and then there's a secondary washer which is thinner. I installed that new pin onto here, and this area right here that goes into the latch was sticking too far out. So I took the thick washer off the new pin and shoved this thin one on there, and it worked. But here's the thing. When I cranked down and tightened it with this thin washer on instead of the thick one, it started to collapse the washer because it's too thin. And then at first, when I first tightened it down, it seemed fine. I was like, all right, good to go. But then I was like, you know what? I really want to use the thicker washer because, you know, the original one has two washers. I get it. It's a replacement part and nothing's going to be exact. But I said, well, let me try to put the thick one on and let me take the thin one off and see if it'll work. And by this point, what happened was now my thin washer was, you know, it wasn't flat anymore, so I hammered it flat. And anyway, so I put the thick one by itself on there, and it was still too long right here. Meaning this area right here is sticking out, not this way. The door will go onto it, but now this area is protruding too far out this way. You can see my finger going this way, so it's going towards the latch. So here, in here, you can see, boom, right in there, you can see where the new one actually wiped. I gotta clean this latch, it's pretty dirty, my gosh. Anyway, if you look in there, you can see where the new pin actually wiped the grease off and was hitting the inside of the latch, going too far in. So I was like, wow, you know, what can I do? Because I was like, I really want to use these solid pins, and if they were made exactly like the picture that is advertised, where there's an actual, you know, this shank is on here, but if you look, And when you take this off and you remove this washer, on the other side of this washer, right where the washer butts up against this shank, it's flat. And in that area, there are no threads right there. So the washer is able to spin around freely so that when you crank this, pin down, the washer's moving so that it doesn't move position when you give it that final turn. But that new one, that washer is biting down on the threads. So when you tighten this down, since that washer's not able to move freely, when you go to give it a crank and finally tighten it down, since that washer is not moving freely, the whole thing kind of moves out of adjustment. That's at least what happened for me. So I went back. Like I said, John, when I closed the door with the new one, I messed with my old one, and even though the collar's bad, it closes pretty good. But if you look right here on my door gap, that's probably 1/4 inch. And I looked at the other side, and it's got more of a gap. So I started thinking, well, you know what? Maybe if this door was moved forward 1/10, then I could probably get away with using that pin being, protruding out like it is. But when I measured the pin, it's about and I know it sounds so, it's like barely anything. 3/16 of an inch too long. But I think I would be able to make up, that distance if this shank right there, see if this camera will focus. You can see the washer. It's kind of blurry, junky phone. There it is. See that blank spot right in front of the shank where the washer is not sitting right up against it? I'm betting you that's about 3/16. I know it sounds ridiculous. I was going to crank it down, but I'm betting you if that area had that blank spot like the one they showed in the advertisement and the washer could spin freely, it just might make up the distance that I'm after. So, I don't know, John. Let me know what you think. All right, man. Take care.